When I first entered college, I was living on my own in a very shitty apartment complex. Rough part of town, lots of crime, place was a madhouse. Car windows constantly bashed in, robberies at gunpoint, random break-ins, gunshots at all hours. General fucking slum, but since I had no money and the rent was cheap, plus it was near the rail line which made the commute to school fast and easy, I just put up with all the bullshit. But I experienced a ton of weird little things that I barely noticed at the time, but later on, kinda weirded me out. The first thing happened during my first month living there. The landlord said he would be stopping by for some reason. I was at work, but obviously, he had a key and could let himself in. He said he would be in and out. I get home late after work. Parking lot is littered with empty 40s and shards of glass, just to give you a feel for the place. Walk up to my apartment, and instantly, I notice two things. It fucking stinks, and someone has moved shit around. The stink is like rotten eggs, and I walk around trying not to barf while I locate the source. It's my bedroom closet. I haven't moved much in yet, so it's still empty, but it stinks like a porta potty that nobody's cleaned in weeks. Stench is unbearable there. I text my landlord about it. He says he hasn't even been to my apartment. Won't be able to make it till the next day. I tell him to check out the closet because it smells like something died in there. Meanwhile, I somehow managed to pass out on the couch in the living room. Wake up the next morning. No smell. Check the closet. It's fine. What the fuck? Back in the living room, I notice again that some shit has been moved around. I figure someone broke into my unit while I was at work, which freaked me out, but the door was locked when I got home last night. And what the fuck was that awful smell? Spoopy. That story happened soon after I moved into the place. This next happened after I started school, so I guess about 3 months later. Middle of the afternoon. It's my day off. Both school and work. Imagine that. I should be studying, but instead, I'm taking a nap on the couch. When I hear a knock at the door. Or I thought I did. Something woke me up, and to me it sounded like someone knocking. It sounded so urgent that I popped right off the couch and headed towards the door. Peer out through the peephole, and there's no one there. Still kinda shaking the sleep away from my head. I figure maybe I dreamed it. Open the door anyway. As I step out, one of the neighbors, this huge 200-pound black dude made of solid muscle, comes out of his apartment, dragging his old lady behind him. She's even bigger than he is, and they're both yelling as the dude drags her over to the staircase and tosses her off. This heavy bitch screams bloody murder as she goes bouncing down the wrought iron staircase. She bounces so hard that the entire catwalk shook like it was made of rubber. The big-ass black neighbor dude turns and walks back to his apartment. He glares at me as he passes by me, and I kinda shrink back into my unit. No more sleep for me, even if I wanted to. Grab my backpack and stroll down to the rail, which I take to the campus library. Study till it's dark, and I start getting sleepy. That's when I remember the knock at the door. Wonder if it was really a dream, or a warning. Spoopy again. Keep in mind, I'm only mentioning the stuff that stands out in my mind. There were all sorts of other little things happening around this time, both in my unit and in the apartment complex generally. Shit that put me on edge and contributing to the eerie feeling of living there. Get a job delivering pizzas in a shitty part of town. It was one of the worst jobs I've ever had. Not just in terms of tips, but in terms of danger too. A few people I worked with were robbed at gunpoint and quit as a result. Never happened to me, but it was a real risk that just kinda went with the job. Anyway, I had made friends with this kitchen dude named Paul. He often invited me to share a picture with him after work. I wasn't old enough, but nobody there cared. One day, he asks if he can crash at my place because his girlfriend kicked him out for some reason. He promises it's just for the night, and he says he'll buy me some beers. So I agree and we share a picture as usual, most of which he drinks. Then we head back to my place where we watch a movie and shoot the shit before crashing out. He takes the couch, I head to my room. That night, I'm woken up I don't wake up. I feel like something woke me. Same as when I heard the knocking that one time. I lay there for a moment, feeling very scared for some reason. Heart is going a mile a minute. So freaked out that it takes me a while to notice that the fucking smell is back. I look towards my closet. Even though I always kept it closed, the door is wide open, just letting out that putrid public toilet stench. I've got the creeps real bad, but I drag myself out of bed and move to close the closet door. Goosebumps intensify, and the smell gets worse. Or maybe it was just because I was getting so close to it, I don't know. But the spooks were real, and I rushed back to bed and forced myself to pass out. Next morning, I find Paul is gone. I woke up super early and figured he would still be there. He just left a note. "Your place is fucking creepy, dude." Keck. I ask him about it later, and he tells me he woke up and thought he heard me walking around in the kitchen. He even called out something like, "Yo, Anon, what the fuck are you doing?" But I didn't answer. The noise got worse though, and he just laid there, not able to sleep. After a minute, he heard me leave the kitchen and walk past him into the little hallway that leads to my room. He heard me, but he didn't see me. He didn't see anything, actually. Just heard the footsteps. Triple spooked. There were several other things that happened, but it's late, and I'm going to do a little reading before bed. Just thought some of you might enjoy these. Good night, X. One summer when I was 10, me and my stepdad were going on a cross-country drive to Bond. My mom was in prison. We were driving somewhat close to the Humboldt-Tiobe forest, and a man came walking out of the woods who looked like a human pig. I'm not talking as if he was fat or had kind of an upturned nose. He flat out looked like a pig that grew to 6 feet somehow and learned to walk upright. He was also wearing clothes and had claw-like hands but no hooves. He just walked right in front of us nonchalantly. We drove up to a rest stop after that and stayed there for hours, barely saying anything. We couldn't believe what we saw, and my stepdad was scared to drive because he thought he'd gone crazy. I know this whole thing sounds stupid. People always bring up that Pigman episode of Seinfeld, but it really happened. And while it's certainly possible that the creature we saw was just some guy wearing a costume, it wasn't a slip-on mask or anything. It was full-on Hollywood tier prosthetics that moved with the guy's face, and his hands were made up too. Maybe he was shooting a commercial or a movie or something, but if so, I've never been able to find it, and it seems extremely unlikely that people would go out of their way to shoot a movie or a commercial all the way out in the woods and risk letting their star go walking out to the middle of the highway, especially if they had such a good makeup budget. The closest thing I've been able to find were these Energy Hog commercials, but those didn't come out until 2005, and this was 1997. Plus, the costumes in those weren't nearly as good. I am sure there's a logical explanation, but it was still the eeriest experience of my life. Be my father, 16 to 17 years old, living in rural town in Castile, Spain. One of his friends recently found a cave and he wants to go explore it. Dad accepts. They arrive at the entrance. The entrance is rather big, but afterwards, the tunnel turns smaller and they have to crouch to continue. After some walking, the tunnel starts gradually increasing in size, and they can walk straight again. They walk for like 10 minutes. Just a tunnel that goes deeper and deeper into the earth. My dad starts feeling weird vibes. Something is not normal. Tells nothing to his friend, and they just keep walking. Eventually, they reach a cave. In one corner, they see a man just laying in the ground. "Hello?" No response. They get a bit closer. He's sleeping. The man is unnaturally pale, like milk white. His hair is long enough to reach his knees. At first they thought it was a hobo, but his also white clothes are clean. He looks like he has good hygiene, and the man also has lots of gold jewelry on him. Man starts awakening and stands up. He's like 3.5 meters tall, or around 12 feet for Americans. Most likely more. He says something in a language that they don't understand. He doesn't seem hostile, but my dad and his friends still freak out and rush for the exit. The man laughs as if he found it funny. Both my dad and his friend spend the rest of the day and the entire next day thinking about it. After that, decide to go back. The entrance is no longer there. Looks like there never was any cave there. They talk with the locals about it, and no one has ever heard of any cave in that location. Be me. Work as a cook in a dive. It's around midnight in a weekday, and we're closing. Kitchen is closed. I'm cleaning. The waitress comes to the kitchen saying some strange people came, demanding for food. Boss told me to do it. Fuck. But okay, I get paid for overtime. Waitress tells me to take a look on them. A middle-aged couple and 3 teenagers. I've never seen them around. I've grown up in this neighborhood, and I know everyone. They came walking, no car in sight. Anon, look at their faces. It looked like they were using those realistic face silicone masks, but the texture was leathery. They ordered 22-ounce beers and 2 loaded fries. 3 fucking pounds of loaded fries. Made the fries and sent them. Turned off the fryer again. 5 minutes later, the plates come back empty. But not empty. They were full of saliva. I think it was saliva because that's the only thing I can think of. It was some translucent, foul-smelling goo. One huge puddle of saliva on each plate. Go take a second look at them. They pay and leave quickly, speaking only the most necessary, and they leave on foot. Empty beers at the table. The teenagers drank nothing. Waitress says they devoured the fries and drank the beer like fucking beasts. Didn't hear them talking to each other at all. Next day, my boss doesn't remember it happening. Never saw the family again. It was 2 years ago, and I still don't know what happened. I woke up with this in my mind, so I may as well post it here. When I was a kid, my mom said I had a guardian angel. Last year of middle school, parents spend all of their money on 32 packs of Bud Light and cheap cigarettes. No internet. 2 a.m., school night, can't sleep. Watching the Goofy movie on some old VHS player. Laying forward at the edge of my bed, watching my boy Max bag Roxanne. Movie ends. Go to eject movie. Something physically grabbed my arm and pulled me. Not just a gentle tug, a genuine pain in my shoulder. What the actual fuck? So freaked out I can't get off my bed. Panic attack. Wave. Mom opens the door, but I don't hear her. She asks if I'm okay. Explain what happens. Oh, sweetie, don't worry about that. It's just your guardian angel letting you know that they're watching over you. This isn't the only time this has happened. I can recall at least 3 other times that my limbs have been grabbed by someone who wasn't there. Twice on my wrist and forearm, and once on my foot. I can't help but feel like they weren't there to help me. It felt like they wanted to take me. I tried a weed vape once that someone was offering. I didn't think much of it, but that night, I had a really surreal and disturbing dream, and I put it down to the vape. I've never touched one since. A load of shit I can't remember. Part of Starship Enterprise crew. Captain Picard giving a toast to celebrate some new treaty or alliance or something, with some aliens or colony or something. We drink our champagne. Captain says, "And as a traditional alien toast, your beverages contain mescaline," or something like that. I swear before this, I didn't consciously know that there was a drug called mescaline. I thought it was just some random dream shit I'd come up with. Turns out, it's a real drug. Everyone starts dropping to the ground on their hands and knees. I get woozy. Start tripping the absolute fuck out. It was like watching a horrific presentation, while I just observed in horror. Random arm, holding sticky notes with writing on them, would occasionally enter the frame. Notes would be sort of fourth wall breaking hints about getting out of the trip and dream. Somehow, discover the trip is being caused by some kind of psychic spider that has my balls between its teeth and is threatening to bite them while still broadcasting crazy, harrowing, flashing images that are obscuring it. I can see it like the trip is imposed over my room, and I'm on my back in bed with the spider there. It's fucking huge. Its head is about the size of a human's. Sticky note hand pops into frame. Note says something like, "All you have to do is reject and denounce God and it'll be over." I'm scared, but I refuse. It bites. Fucking kills. Like serious ball being clamped pain. Wake up. Lie there taking a few minutes to regain sanity after the sheer craziness that I witnessed. Still terrified and expecting something else to happen. After a while, I assess that I am actually awake and nothing has happened for a while. Normal day. Don't smoke any more weed vapes when offered. My family is originally from Mexico. We used to travel down there quite a bit when I was a kid. Usually we would stay there for about 2 weeks at a time. Always during the winter so we could celebrate Christmas together. But once, when I was about 12, we went down there during summer, and I saw a duende. More than once. I probably saw it over a dozen times. I remember all of my cousins warned me to not talk about it, or it might hurt me. The first time I saw it was just a quick glance, really. Me and cousin walking to a nearby river. To get there, we have to travel up the village into the mountains, then walk down this long winding path, a 30-minute hike altogether. A portion of the winding path travels along a sort of ravine for a while. So imagine, on your right-hand side, there's just a wall of trees. On your left-hand side, there's a steep bank of grass that rises up over your head. Cousin and I are traveling right through that part of the winding path when I hear something on the grassy bank above us. Look up. A very little man is walking along the top. Seems to be following us and watching us. Cousin tugs on my arm and tells me not to look. Starts talking about something else. I figure maybe it's a local wino or something. From my perspective, the man looks small, but not that small, so I just ignored him. We get to the river without incident. After that, my cousin explained that during the summer, duendes come down from the mountain. I asked her from where, and she wasn't sure. Some people said they came from inside the mountain, and other people said they lived in trees, or that they, quote-unquote, moved through stones. Like I said, I saw this thing numerous times. I'll mention 2 other quick ones. Get up in the middle of the night, thirsty, go to the kitchen to grab water. Window there faces a small outdoor kitchen. I see a duende sneak across the patio and disappear into the kitchen. Later, up to the corral with my cousin. They do bullfights there, and in general this area is used to move bulls from the village to a neighboring ranch. Or at least I think. The point is, it's a very flat area with no grass, because it's constantly getting trampled on. All the trees have been leveled to clear the way for bulls. And then there's this corral which stands empty at the time. Cousin and I are hanging out there just talking when I spot the duende moving around outside. Cousin and I ignore it. We keep seeing it out of the corner of our eyes though. I glance over and it's gone. That one was extra creepy because there was nowhere for it to hide that quick. There's literally the corral and just open fields of dirt. It's like the thing just disappeared into thin air. Also, I know everyone has a different meaning for duende. Some people use it to refer to ghosts, but what I saw was a little man, much shorter than any of the kids there, and he was wearing dark clothing. I have since heard lots of stories from other people who have seen them too, but they all describe the creatures differently. In addition to what I experienced, I was also told a few stories by a neighbor of mine. Some of them just sound like fake-ass urban legends, but they are still kind of interesting to me, especially given my own weird experiences. So this neighbor's name was Leonard. He was a hilarious 40-year-old black dude that lived on the opposite side of the apartments from me. He and I, oddly enough, became friendly after the 2 of us witnessed a dude almost kill a prostitute in the parking lot. Leonard and I sometimes hung out on my porch chit-chatting, and that's how I first heard this story. Once upon a time, before I moved in, there was a young man who lived 2 doors down from Leonard, a fine upstanding wannabe gangbanger who I'll call Mookie. One bright sunny day, Mookie was shot and killed at his front door. Domestic dispute. His girlfriend pulled a gun on him during an argument and shot him in the chest, right there in broad daylight. The other tenants had sort of gathered by then to watch the argument, and they all saw her do it. She went to prison. Mookie went to hell. Nah, just kidding, but seriously. Mookie was apparently an all-around piece of shit, so it was apparently a kind of relief to have him gone. Only, he wasn't gone. According to Leonard, random people in the complex have claimed to catch glimpses of Mookie's ghost. Usually they'll catch his reflection in windows and turn around to find nobody there. Shit like that. But the interesting thing to me was that Leonard said Mookie sometimes comes knocking on people's doors, but when you open it, there's no one there. When I heard this, I asked if he'd ever heard knocking like that. He said yes, right before Mookie was shot, which didn't even make sense with the story he told. I went ahead and told him about the mysterious knocking that I'd heard, and he said to me, "Oh yeah, Mookie's looking for your ass." Keck. Leonard was definitely a bullshitter, but I thought it was cool how his story dovetailed with my own experience. 12 years old. Run into my room after school. Freeze. See a gloved hand sticking out of the bottom of the bed, moving around like it's groping for something. Back out slowly. My first thought is that there's an intruder in the house, and he's hiding under my bed. Tell my mom what I saw. She makes us leave ASAP, and we call the cops from the neighbor's house. They show up and check the house. Find nothing. Mom's pissed because she thought I lied to her. My face went. Chalk it up to my young imagination if you want, Skepta friends, but I know what I saw. Used to help Mom with the garden. After she passed, I tried to keep up with it, maintain the flowers, which were mainly lilies, and pull the weeds and etc., but her garden was enormous, and too much trouble if I'm honest. On a whim, I decided to leave an offering to the fairies, since I'd heard some anons on here on X, suggested once or twice. So I pick up a bottle of good whiskey at the store, mainly for myself, bake some fresh bread that day, and in the evening, I leave a bit of the bread in the garden, with a pat of butter on top. Pour out a bit of whiskey too. That night, I dream that the house is covered in butterflies. The flowers too. The butterflies fold their wings gently, like they're waving at me. Below, in the garden bed, I find little moth people running over the soil. They see me and chirp like birds. Point me to someone standing outside the garden. So I look up. It's my mom, wearing her favorite dress, standing in white light. She's smiling at me. Wake up with a jolt. Alarm is blaring. I've overslept. Get the fuck out of bed and rush to get ready for work. I'm late, but the dream is still strong in my mind. I make time to leave another bit of bread in the garden. Pour out some more whiskey. Been doing it ever since. Still dream of the fairies occasionally. And of my mom. She seems happy with the garden. Be 10-year-old Anon. At the mall with family. There's a fountain in the center of the mall. Older cousin explains that if you toss a quarter into the fountain and make a wish, it will come true. Wanna try it? No quarter. Cousin digs in his pockets and hands over his last one. Oh boy, gonna wish for a new PlayStation. Cousin is watching me. For some reason, I think. I wish cousin dies. What did you wish for, Anon? A PlayStation. Cousin drowns a week later at her lake house. Believe that I killed him with my wish. My face went. Still haven't told anyone about that one. Did the law of attraction kill my dog? Was this a monkey paw backfire? Before you judge, just hear me out. I promise the payoff is huge. So about 4 to 5 weeks ago, I was browsing X, and I found a law of assumption thread. I didn't know it was actually the law of attraction, which I am very familiar with. When you start with the recommended materials, it asks you to do a visualization exercise of you climbing a ladder for 4 days. So I did it and the exercises and wrote on a sheet of paper, "Do not climb the ladder," and left it in front of my computer since I'm on it 80% of the time. After the 4 days, nothing happened. Fast forward to this past Monday. A criminal jumped my wall and shot and killed my dog with a .22. He was a small dog named Jack. I even posted about it on ADV. So we're upgrading the security around our house since we have children. One of the biggest problems is that the sliding glass window that leads into the backyard is completely open. If someone peeks over the wall, they can see all the way in and shoot someone from over the wall. So I told my wife we needed to get thick curtains to completely block the view to the inside of the house. So we got curtains at the Walmart, came back home, and started to set it all up. I bring out the ladder and climb it to drill the holes and above the sliding glass door. And then it hit me, and I realized what just happened. Holy fucking shit. Did I just inadvertently and indirectly monkey paw my dog to his death? So, 3 questions to the Anon community. Number 1, what are your thoughts about this whole fucking thing? Number 2, when can I use the law of attraction to manifest catching this guy? And if so, would it be a good idea to fuck around with it again? And number 3, if it is a good idea, mass consciousness exercise to catch him. I remember studying it and seeing how insanely powerful it is, like the one with George Norrie on Coast to Coast and the hurricane. Thoughts? Gotta pass a piss test. Not really in the mood to quit weed. Buy fake piss called monkey business. Smells alright, decide to go for it. Smoke a dab. Put on a flashy suit with shades and a captain's hat. Head to lab. Get there. Immediately realize I smell like straight weed. Horrifyingly stoned. Hottest woman I've ever seen in my life appears. Is the attendant. She knows I'm high. Thank goodness for these shades. Sits me down. Says some things, nice tits, hands me a cup. Go to bathroom to do the deed. Unzip pants. Pee for real first into the toilet. Grab the monkey tube. It is attached to my leg, with a warm fake bladder on my thigh. Pop the cork. Monkey urine starts spraying everywhere. Can't control the flow. Try blocking it with my hand. Piss blasting at the speed of light. Getting on the walls, my nice clothes, the toilet. Everywhere but the fucking cup. Hits my shades. Thank God for these things. Managed to dribble some primate pee into the cup. Chick starts knocking at the door. Pretty sure she wants to bang me. Tell her just a moment. Start wiping up the wee-wee. So ripped from the marijuana, I'm doing a terrible job, getting it all over my sleeves and hands. Present myself as suavely as possible. She leads me to the office again, rushing to get me out of the room, trying not to gag from the primal odor. Sent some papers. Urine stains dotting my signatures. Passed a test. Land the job. Thanks, monkey business. Not really paranormal, but it was still strange. Going to town a few weeks back. Waiting in queue. Some guy looking at me like he's trying to catch my attention. Finally catches it. Starts smiling and puts his arm out like he's gonna give me a hug. Have no idea who he is. Tell him he has me confused with someone else. No, I haven't. You're Anon, right? Yeah. Tells me he's met me before a few times. Have to apologize because I have no idea who he is. Ask where he's met me. He can't remember, but he knows he's met me. Starts mentioning random things about me that are all true, but he can't recall how he knows them, or me. Seems nice enough at least, and we stand there trying to work out how he knows me. Mentions he's waiting to meet his friend. Friend turns up, looks at me. Hey Anon, how's it going? No idea who he is either. These two weren't friends when they claimed to have met me, and it happened independently. But friend 2 seems to just know as much stuff about me as the first dude. Start walking home. Some random asks me if I have a light. Give him one. Does a double take and starts smiling. Whoa, I haven't seen you in years, Anon. How are you? No idea who this person is. FaceTimes his friend. Look who I'm with. Guy on phone seems to get excited. He also knows who I am. Starts reeling off things about me that only close friends or family would know. Ask them how they know me. They can't recall. They just know for sure that they've both met me before, a few times. Get home and lock all my doors. Is this a gang stalking thing? Something vaguely similar happened about 15 years ago, and I never got to the bottom of that one either. Exploring train tunnels with 2 other Urbex bros. We're very deep into the tunnel, but can see the light up ahead. Hear train rumbling. Oh fuck, that wave. We all rush to the side of the tracks. Press ourselves against the walls. Friend to the left of me grabs my hand. Friend to the right does the same. Right friend's hand is cold and wet. Look right. See the silhouette of his head, and think it must be Duncan, one of the dudes I'm with. Train passes. We all breathe a sigh of relief and go back to the center, making sure we're all good. Hits me while I'm catching my breath. Duncan was on the opposite side of the train from us. 2018. Sitting in my parents' garage. Recently dumped my ex. Sulking and smoking cigs. Absent-mindedly staring into space, thinking about her. Suddenly, hear a strange sound, like exactly how it sounds. To quickly slide a piece of paper across a desk and catch air. Look to the direction that the sound came from, about 9 o'clock from me. See what I can only describe as a floating network of blue lights, like bright blue nodes connected by blue light strings, maybe about 2 feet tall, roughly a foot wide. It's just there. It's just fucking floating there. Lasts a few seconds. It slopes and curves upwards, changing into a golden color of light. Watch it slowly fade out of existence. Sit there, totally paralyzed for 20 minutes, convinced I'm going insane, that I've lost my mind, that I have a brain tumor, and etc. Wait for more hallucinations to come. Nothing happens. Go inside and eat dinner. Still don't know what the fuck that was about. January 2008. Unseasonably cold weather. High 50s with snow still covering everything at night. Best friend and I decided to go on a night hike in the Cleveland Metro Parks. We know this forest well and grew up exploring it. Snow is covering everything, so we can see very well, even at night. Decided to tell my friend an eerie folktale from Pick Related. The story is about a tribe of Indians that keep getting their fish stolen from nets at a lake. They hide so they can see which tribe is stealing from them. As they watch, a stone boat comes out of a rock face on the lake and starts coming towards their fishing spot. It has 3 ugly little men on it. The little men start to pull up the notes, and the Indians yell out. All 3 drop the net and cover their faces with their hands as the boat goes back inside of the rock wall. As I get to this point in the story, we're near the exit when we hear a noise erupt behind us, unlike anything either of us has ever heard. We both freeze, but the noise continues. The path we're on is at the top of a ravine that overlooks the whole area in both directions. Scan the whole area and see nothing. Noise won't stop, keeps getting louder, and sounds like it's coming from all around us now. We both turn and run until we're back on the street. Come back the next morning by myself. Only tracks in the snow are ours. I've heard coyotes all over the woods from various distances, and it sounded nothing like them. I've even heard what I can only assume was coyotes taking down a deer. Not like that at all. We have both looked into animal sounds and nothing matches. We even looked at mountain lion sounds, and nothing is comparable. The sound reminded me of the noise that the aliens from Pitch Black made, but only vaguely. The first time I heard coyotes in the woods at night, I was alone, and it wasn't scary to me. This noise I heard with my best friend sent chills up my spine. It's a feeling I've never experienced since. So, I'm part German on my dad's side. His family came to the US just before World War I broke out. This story is about one of my great-grandfathers. They claimed he saw the black dog in Germany twice. Saw it in the same place both times, at the edge of the woods by his house. First time he sees it, someone died. Second time, someone else died. These weren't important people to him, family members and such. He's spooked. Not long after, he comes to America seeking to make something of himself. He's a great carpenter and gets a job doing that. Finds a good girl, settles down, has a gaggle of kids, opens up his own carpentry shop. Suddenly, one night, Grandpa has a dream about the black dog. As always, it's standing at the edge of the woods of his house in Germany. Next day, World War I breaks out. He tells his wife about his earlier experiences, mentions the dream. They both decide he's going to be a pacifist and not fight in the war. But not long after, he is found dead in the streets outside of his carpentry shop, seemingly strangled. The killer was never found. It was his wife's belief that he saw the black dog one last time. Family hails from Tennessee. Bunch of hicks and rednecks, full of crazy superstitions. One of them is about a glade in the woods where the trees have faces. The legend is that if you accidentally wander into this glade, the trees will take you. People have apparently been known to disappear there. And here's my own personal story. Cousin and I go fishing in the woods. I'm about 12, he's 15. Cousin mentions the killer glade. I've heard of it, but I never seen it. He wants to show it to me, but says that under any circumstances, we shouldn't set a foot in it. He kinda laughs about it, but I can tell he's serious. We walk right up to the glade without going inside, and sure enough, there's a circle of trees with heavily gnarled trunks, especially the bottom parts of the trees. The boles are very twisted. They do look a little like melted faces, and there's 8 of them altogether. I remember because cousin says, "Don't get too close, you don't want to be number 9. Fast forward, years later, fishing with cousin again. Apparently, a couple of kids disappeared in the forests recently. The killer glade naturally comes up. We decide to check it out again. There are 10 faces now. Cousin looks spooked. We both race out of there like scared little kids. We might have miscounted the faces the first time, or who the fuck knows. Maybe the trees took the kids." I have a story like this, told to me by my mom. It's from her hometown. Rural America, Appalachia, mid-80s or so. People began to end hero. Each one did it by hanging themselves. All of them used the exact same tree. No exceptions. This is a small country town, very superstitious. They start thinking the tree is cursed. After the 6th or so person is found hanging from it, they decide that the tree needs to be cut down. Tree is felled. The curse is confirmed. When the tree bleeds, the stump began spewing a red liquid, according to my mom. Everyone is relieved. The curse has been lifted, or so they think. 2 weeks later, a local woman is found dead in her home. She was known for being a root worker and a wise woman. Not a very nice one either. Anyway, she hasn't been seen in a while. She lives near the old cursed tree. People go to check on her. She's lying, dead, in her bed, seemingly strangled. Leaves all up in her hair. Shattered twigs and tree bark scattered all around her. Her fingernails were filthy, and some of them were hanging loose. Almost like she had been in a struggle with... No fucking way. The town learns to avoid this part of the woods. The whole event becomes a ghost story that you tell to little kids. Mom told it to me. Anyway, sweet dreams, Anon. Jesus Christ, Mom. Obviously, this story is taken with a fist of salt, but if my mom really just made the whole thing up to scare me, it fucking worked.